Now, each day, new studies come out that give us very important tips on how to live a healthy life. One day a study tells us they're supposed to eat more salt, and then the next day the study says that salt's going to kill you, and you never know what to do. And today we hear that eating citrus fruit is linked to melanoma. Dr. Tess is back to help us with the latest medical studies. Dr. Tess, thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Gina.
It's really good to have you.
This caught my eyes because melanoma can be a deadly killer. Right. So it's the number 5 as far as the most prevalent cancers out there, and more Americans, even younger people, are getting melanoma. And citrus, this is a big study, although we have to take it with a grain of salt that this is one observational study. They did look at 63,000 women and 41,000 men, and when they talked about citrus, it was mostly grapefruit and oranges. And what they found, even though they tried to get rid of all of the other variances like sun exposure and all of that, is that those that ate more than 1.5 citrus per day had up to 36% increase in their risk for melanoma.
See, that scares me to death because my family, honestly, we live on citrus fruit.
We're supposed to, right? Vitamin
That's
C,
what you think.
Antioxidants, all of that's supposed to help with your skin. But, these citrus fruits have furocoumarins, and these are a family of photoreactive ingredients that can make your skin more sensitive to sun. Actually, July 4th, dermatologists, the week after July 4th, we do see a lot of rashes, and we usually ask, well, have you been spraying lime juice and stuff and putting it, and did you have contact in your hands? And they'd get this funny rash because of these furocoumarins, and that causes a phototoxic reaction. So the sun hits it, and it can make the skin more sun sensitive. So they're thinking that that could be the link. But no one really knows exactly why they saw this, and I'm sure there will be more studies.
Wow. All right. Well, one other thing on melanoma that I've been reading about lately is that perhaps it is our sunblock, something in our sunblock that is causing melanoma. Have you seen that?
Well, it's interesting because I think what happens when people wear sunblock, it doesn't really block all of the sun's damaging rays, but it kind of gives you a false sense of security.
I can stay out here all day.
Exactly. That doesn't mean you can, and you still need to reapply. So I think that there is some studies that show that when people who wear sunscreen, they have a higher incidence. They can have higher incidence of melanoma, but I think it's because people who are out there, they wear their sunscreen and they have a false sense of security that they're not going to get the sun damage, but you still can.
Okay, a study found that high blood pressure linked to a lower risk of Alzheimer's.
That seems counterintuitive, right?
It's exhausting.
Are you supposed to be healthier? Are you supposed to not be healthier? But what they found is that basically it's really the antihypertensive medications that these people with higher systolic blood pressure had and were taking. That's why they saw the decrease in the Alzheimer's risk. So it's not necessarily that, go and get your blood pressure raised or stop taking your medications, but it's really those people who had higher systolic blood pressure were already on those medications, and they think that it's the medications that lowered the risk for Alzheimer's. So there's more studies that need to be done using these antihypertensive drugs and Alzheimer's prevention.
Okay, now I always thought that smoking marijuana caused weight loss, but today there's a study.
Or weight gain?
Yes.
I mean, it's one of those because marijuana is used, medical marijuana, to increase appetite because we know that it can, increase appetite.
The munchies thing, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Not personally, but I've heard of it. I've heard of it, but what they found in the study is that it's complicated. Weight gain and marijuana, that relationship is complicated. And what they found is that many of these marijuana smokers also smoke cigarettes. And we know that people actually smoke cigarettes to lose weight. And so what they found is that when you are a marijuana smoker, but you also smoke cigarettes, you lost weight. If you don't smoke cigarettes and you just smoke marijuana and you're a man, you can actually gain weight. So that's what they found. But it's the smoking cigarettes, that's sort of the issue there.
Okay. Now, another thing, we've always known that marijuana is a gateway drug, but we've never really known why it tends to lead to other drug use.
This is a really interesting study, right? Because you always wonder, and you kind of, as a preventive, you know, maybe can we block if we can stop the reason, interfere, and it's boredom. They said the #1 reason these teenagers would smoke marijuana and is boredom.
So
isn't that kind of interesting?
It is interesting, but how do we cure that?
Well,
more homework, ladies and gentlemen.
Exactly. Don't allow your kids to get bored, because they might try. And what's interesting is that all of the hard drugs, they are also more likely to take on and try hard drugs if they're bored. But if they're just experimenting with marijuana, they're less likely to try the harder drugs.
Okay, water. We always hear it's good for you.
Yes.
I can't even believe this, but I'm reading a study that says that drinking lots of water is no longer good for you. I'm exhausted by these confusing, conflicting things.
Oh, I really think life is about moderation, right? You know, and there is a condition called hyponatremia, right? Where it's exercise-induced hyponatremia, where basically after you exercise, you're supposed to drink so much water, but what they're saying now is drink to your thirst. When you're no longer thirsty, stop. Because you can alter your sodium levels, and sodium is very important in a lot of functions in our body.
Electrolytes, and
exactly.
That makes sense
and
to
it
me.
can affect your brain functioning and all that. You can get seizures. So
the conclusion we have here is marijuana in moderation.
Yeah, I know. Is that, or is it water? Water in moderation.
Thanks for being with us, Dr. Tess